The story begins with a horrifying scene. A group of teenage boys have tied a couple to a tree. The boy lies unconscious while the girl screams in terror. Suddenly, one of the boys starts pouring petrol all around and, without a hint of mercy, sets it on fire with a matchstick. The girl keeps screaming, but the boys just laugh as if it's all a joke. However, by a twist of fate, the flames burn through the rope tying the girl. She seizes the chance and frees herself. When the boys aren't paying attention, she kicks the petrol can, knocking it over. The spilled fuel creates a wall of fire, and using this opportunity, she escapes. Now the real question is, why did those boys commit such cruelty against the couple? To know that, we need to go 3 days back. It all starts with a couple, Jenny and Steve. They go to spend a peaceful vacation near a remote lake named Eden Lake, a quiet yet mysterious place. On the way, they meet a small boy sitting alone, making some paintings. His name was Adam. Little did Jenny know that this very child would soon become the biggest danger to her life. After walking a bit further, they finally reach the lake. The atmosphere is calm, so they sit there and enjoy the sun. Jenny dozes off, but suddenly she's awakened by the barking of a dog. A group appears, some thug-like teenage boys, and the dog belongs to them. Steve, annoyed, confronts them and tells them to control their dog. But instead of an apology, all he gets is taunts and mocking laughter. Steve quietly returns to Jenny. Little did he know that messing with those boys would turn out to be their biggest mistake. A while later, as the boys leave, they make an obscene gesture toward Jenny. That's when Steve and Jenny decide there's no point staying there anymore. As they begin to leave, Steve realizes the car keys are missing. He suspects something is wrong. When he reaches the parking area, he finds the car is completely gone. With no other choice, the two start walking. But suddenly, their own car comes speeding toward them as if it's about to run them over. Behind the wheel are those same thug boys, laughing at Steve as they drive away. Steve is furious. He sets off with Jenny to find them. Eventually, later that night, they manage to track them down. Without wasting a moment, Steve attacks them. But then one of the boys pulls out a knife. Steve manages to snatch it away, and a fight breaks out. In the scuffle, a dog, which the boys called Tiger, gets injured. Jenny quickly grabs the car keys and runs off with Steve. But the story doesn't end there. Their leader, Braith, isn't willing to let them go that easily. Soon they surround the car. Stones are thrown, shattering the headlights. Steve somehow manages to start the car and drives off with Jenny. But now the road ahead is even more terrifying. Thick forest, dense fog, and a car without headlights, completely out of control. Steve was driving, but it was impossible to see the road through the trees. And then the worst happened. A heavy branch collided with the car, crushing the door inward. Steve was trapped. Jenny tried with all her strength, but getting Steve out was becoming impossible. Just then, the voices of those boys could be heard getting closer. Steve told Jenny, "Take the phone and run. Get help." Wiping her tears, Jenny ran off in search of a safe place. Meanwhile, the boys reached the car. Steve felt like his final moments had come. Jenny spent the entire night hiding in the forest. At dawn, she shakily made her way back. But when she reached the car, she let out a scream. Steve was gone. Only bloodstains remained on the ground. While looking around, she heard some voices. When she got there, she saw that Steve was being beaten up badly. The leader of those goons, Brett, was recording everything on his mobile phone. He was also forcing the other boys standing with him to hit Steve too, so that they would all get implicated. When it was Mark's turn, he hit Steve so brutally that it seemed like Steve wouldn't survive. Seeing this, Jenny quickly took out her phone and tried to call the police. But something went wrong. The phone was still connected to Steve's Bluetooth, and the call audio played directly through the speaker, revealing their location. Just then, Steve seized the moment and somehow freed himself from the barbed wire mesh and staggered toward the car. He took the first aid box out of the back trunk, but the sound of the car alarm drew the goons' attention back to him. Somehow, Steve managed to escape from there. Luckily, not far from there, he found Jenny. The two of them ran through the forest and reached an old broken-down hut. Jenny tended to Steve's wounds. That's when she noticed a ring in Steve's pocket. Steve was going to propose to Jenny that day. But now the situation had turned into this nightmare. Suddenly, some noises came from outside. The same boys had tracked them down. When they peeked inside the hut, they only found torn bandages lying there. Steve and Jenny were missing from there. As the camera tilts downward, it reveals that both of them are hiding in a secret underground bunker beneath the hut. Just then, one of the boys upstairs steps on a wooden plank, creating a loud noise. Jenny doesn't even dare to breathe. Her face turns pale with fear. But fortunately, the boys don't get suspicious and leave. Now Jenny drags Steve to the nearby riverside. Steve is in terrible condition. Jenny hides him behind a tree and runs off to get help. On the way, she steps on an iron nail that pierces right through her foot. She screams in pain, but driven by the hope of saving Steve, she endures the pain, pulls out the nail, and keeps moving forward. Due to the tension, fear, and pain, Jenny is completely shattered now. Just as she sits under a tree to rest for a moment, she hears footsteps coming from the bushes. She panics, but then she sees the same boy standing there, the one she had first talked to on the holiday, the calm-looking Adam. Seeing Adam gives Jenny a little relief. She thinks maybe this boy can help her get out of the forest. Folding her hands, she pleads with Adam to at least show her the way to the village. Adam agrees, but instead takes her to a deserted field and sits aside. Then he starts typing something on his phone. Jenny feels something is wrong, but by then it's too late. The same boys, the same monsters, arrive from behind. When Jenny opens her eyes, she finds that both she and Steve have been tied to a tree. Steve is no longer alive. Then the same monster Brett forcefully hands a matchbox to Adam and tells him to set fire to the petrol. Flames rise and consume Steve's corpse. Jenny's eyes are lifeless, but just then, the rope she's tied with catches fire, and she somehow manages to escape. Brett from behind threatens Adam. "If she doesn't come back, you're going to die." Just then, Adam's scream echoed through the forest. Jenny's heart had completely changed by now. She was ready for revenge. While running, she saw a signboard with a map of the forest. She broke the glass and took out the map, but suddenly she started hearing voices behind her again. She ran and hid inside an old dumpster. The stench was suffocating, but her will to survive was still strong. When Brett and his gang reached the spot, they saw that the map was missing. Brett realized that someone had found the way out of the forest. He was just about to open the dumpster, but the terrible smell made him step back. As soon as they left, Jenny came out. She wrapped a broken piece of glass in cloth and turned it into a weapon. There was no fear left in her now. Only one thing remained: revenge. Suddenly, one of the thugs, Cooper, appeared in front of her. A fight broke out between them, and Jenny killed Cooper. Later, she realized she might have killed the wrong person, but there was no way back now. It was night. When Cooper's body was found, his friends blamed Brett entirely and, in anger, began beating him up. Fed up with everything, Brad's girlfriend ran away from there. Meanwhile, Jenny finds a car in the forest. Crying, she tells her story to the man in the car. The driver is startled after seeing her, but then says, "I'll take you to the hospital, but first let me find my brother." Jenny's heart begins to race because the driver's brother was the same person Cooper had killed. Jenny couldn't understand what was going on until she saw with her own eyes that the man in the car was standing with the same monster who had taken her boyfriend's life. A jolt of realization struck her mind. She quickly jumped into the driver's seat and, without thinking twice, hit the accelerator and sped away from there. On the way, she saw a girl running, the same girl who was with those monsters. In anger, Jenny didn't hit the brakes. The car crashed into the girl and she collapsed and died on the spot. That scene brought a small sense of relief to the heart, but the story wasn't over yet. While driving, Jenny got distracted and the car crashed straight into an old house. Trembling, she stepped out. Darkness clouded her vision, but seeing some people partying nearby, she thought maybe now she'd finally get help. Jenny screamed for help and collapsed unconscious to the ground. When she regained consciousness, she found herself on a luxurious sofa in a grand drawing room. In front of her were some strangers who told her they had rescued her, but Jenny soon sensed something was off about the place. A dog was wandering around, and on the floor were two bowls, one with the name of the same dog that Steve had killed in the forest. Just then, a woman was talking to someone on the phone. From the conversation, it was clear that these people were the parents of the same boys Jenny had escaped from in the forest. Jenny made an excuse that she needed to go to the washroom. The woman supported her and took her to the bathroom. As soon as Jenny entered, she locked the door from inside. Sounds of fighting and crying started coming from outside. Jenny, terrified, curled up in a corner. But the very next moment, there was a loud knocking on the door, and then the door burst open with a powerful kick. Brett was standing in front of her. He turned the whole truth around. He accused Jenny of killing his innocent son. The parents, from whom she had hoped for help, had now turned into devils themselves. They too said the same thing. He was just a child. That day, Jenny witnessed the most horrifying face of humanity. Eventually, to mislead the police, they killed Jenny right there in the bathroom. And to erase all evidence, Brett deleted all the video clips from his phone in which their true faces were captured. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts. Also, subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.